What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. If you've been here before, I'm Neo Mushroom. Today we're playing some more Modern on Magic the Gathering Online, and it's a deck you should know by now. We've played it a ton on this channel. It is black, blue, Froculus, or Frogtide if you like, because we are playing Murktide in the deck. If you want to see the entire list, it's in the description below as always. But to quickly glaze over the deck, we're doing a Decktech on this very soon because we're doing a paper series on this. We're actually recording it tomorrow. But for anyone who's not initiated, maybe you just stumbled across the channel, this deck is using the engine and win condition and value package all in one card, Psychic Frog, to draw its cards and to put cards in the graveyard. Very importantly, putting cards in the graveyard enables Unearth. And Unearth is a reanimate for things that cost 3 or less. Abhorrent Oculus costs 3 or less, and that card is completely busted. There's a lot of really cool plays you can make with Oculus, and usually if you get lucky in Thought Scour, which is one of our cantrips, and Oculus into the graveyard on turn 1, and you can turn to Oculus, I think your win rate shoots up to like 95%, which is insane. We're a typical like tempo-y control deck, so you're full of cantrips and counterspells like Spell Snare and Counterspell. We've got Force of Negation, some removal. It's great. Our sideboard, my sideboard differs quite a bit from a lot of what you'll see online. We're playing the full 4 Consign to Memories, that's stock, but then we're playing 2 Spellbombs, 1 Surgical, a couple Harbingers, a Singleton Bowmaster, and we're playing EE as our way to like hate out tokens as opposed to Meltdown, because Rhinos is seeing a bunch of play, and Meltdown doesn't interact with the Rhinos. I got 3 little trophies here. This deck is the one, I mean, I've been tuning it for like the last few weeks, but over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, I was able to get 3 trophies with this deck. So we're going to try to do it again, but this time on stream. That's everything you need to know, so let's hop into a Magic the Gathering Online Modern League. All right, found round 1 opponent. We are on the play. Very, very lucky. Love to see it as usual. And this hand is, well, we don't have any removal spells. We're kind of relying on counter spells, and Murktide's our earliest threat with no cantrips to support it. So if our opponent does something as simple as leading on Guide of Souls or Ragavan, we're going to get ran under. And even like without a frog or some type of like accelerant for the Murktide, I think this hand's just going to be generically way too slow. We'll gladly go to 6. All right, this hand is much better. It is the turn 3 Oculus with a turn 1 play. I'm going to put the Surveil land on the bottom probably and just fetch and shock to get the Consider cast as fast as possible. That way, if we just randomly happen to bin an Abhorrent Oculus in addition to the one we have in hand, we'll just turn to the Oculus because that leads to a lot of free wins. But we'll keep this. Pitch the 3rd land. This deck doesn't usually need it. And we'll open on Misty Rainforest into a pass the turn. All right, Polluted Delta fetch. Could be, what could this be? Could be getting Thought Seized. Looks like it's Froculus, maybe Goryo's Vengeance. That's a Tamiya. That's fine with us. All right, they're going to pass, so we're going to fetch. I do just want to spend this Consider, so I'll gladly shock in the Watery Grave. The Tamiya is not putting our life total in any real pressure. Fatal Push is actually a fine pickup here. I think I'm going to leave it on top with no intention of casting it on my next turn. I'm just going to jam the Frog and see how this Oculus plan plays out. We'll play Bloodstained Mire. I'm also not going to play around like a Harbinger of the Seas. I just want double black because on my 3rd turn, I might Unearth plus Fatal Push. So we'll shock in Watery Grave, number 2. Then we'll tap for a blue and a black and play out our Frog. And then we will pass the turn. Looks like we got a Fatal Push on the Frog, so we will discard Abhorrent Oculus to the Frog to grow it. It's still going to die to the push. That's going to open up our turn 3 play to be pretty messed up if they don't have a Force of Negation. Additionally, if we draw like a Counterspell or a Spell Pierce, we can hit the Force of Negation because we do have a Sink into Stupor to play as a blue source. Mox Amber, okay. Looks like this could be the Basim Affinity deck. Here's an Opal. So this is a deck we're for sure bringing Engineered Explosives in against. Yeah, our opponent just playing like 7 spells on turn 2. That said, they'd need exactly blue card plus Force of Negation to stop me from jamming out this Oculus. All right, they pass to me. We untap, we draw. That's a Graveyard Trespasser. We can also play around Spell Pierce. I think we should. We'll just play the Soporific Springs untapped and then tap for a black and cast Unearth, targeting Abhorrent Oculus and see if our opponent has anything to say about it. All right, there's the Oculus. So we have that. We're also going to stop our opponent in their upkeep, and that's probably when we want to Fatal Push the Tamiya. All right, they're going to Mishra's Bauble us. That's fine. All right, on tap. I will actually allow my Abhorrent Oculus to trigger first. I'll put another Abhorrent Oculus face down. That's kind of messed up. And then we'll Fatal Push this Tamiya because it is wigging me out a little bit. I'd prefer it if they didn't just flip that. At the very least, it's going to force me to take pressure off of them and start attacking the Tamiya. I don't really want to do that. Right now, I've got what looks to be a 2-turn clock that can kind of ignore the speed of Urza's Saga, at least for the time being. So I want to do that thing. Right now, they only have access to 2 colored mana. There's a push. So there goes this Oculus, but I did tuck another one away. Tapped Thundering Falls, sure. That does cut my clock down considerably, though. Another Mopal, sure. All right, pass to me. Pass to me. All right, I'm doing the thing. Turn this creature face up. Go to combat, attack for 5. Hiya. Now, a way our opponent could like turn the clock around is just make a Saga token, on tap, upkeep, make a Saga token, and then search for a haste equipment. I'm not sure that that would be lethal, although it might be. We may just lose here. Do they have the mana to do that? They do. We could just end up dead. Although we are going to put a card face down, so I take that back. We're able to block one of them and then maybe shoot the Sheriff the other one. Putting a frog face down isn't that bad either. They're going to use the Saga. Now we've got 2 5/5s. I'm fully anticipating them to go get a haste artifact, probably the Lava Spur Boots. It's a Nihil Spellbomb. That one seems not as good. They go to combat. They attack for 6. If I flip this frog, how much damage can I do? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's not quite enough. I think we're better off just chumping the construct. We need to keep ourselves alive for our Oculus to do its job. All right, they're going to crack the Spellbomb and draw a card. Hopefully they don't have another push in hand. I think that would end the game pretty easily. They don't have mana currently, though. They need to make a land drop, and it'd have to be a colored source. Steam Vents is pretty good, but that's not the color they need to Fatal Push. Okay, I get another turn, which is great. I untap, get a counterspell. That's not the worst. We'll go to combat. We'll attack them with the Oculus, bring them down to 7. Then, as interesting as it is to like try to hold up, shoot the Sheriff and counterspell, I think I actually want to play Graveyard Trespasser. There is a Tamiyo in the bin. So when Graveyard Trespasser enters, I can exile the Tamiyo, drain them down to 6. I go up to 12. Then, once my Oculus triggers, if I put a creature in the graveyard, attack for 5 with the Oculus, and then attack with the Graveyard Trespasser, which will get blocked, but if I can exile my own creature, that's going to add up to 6 total. So I can deal 7 damage if everything goes right. So because of that, I think I'm just going to jam my Graveyard Trespasser. Trigger, I'm going to take out your Tamiyo Inquisitive Student, and then I will pass and hope that our opponent just, they might be playing like a Grixis Breach list as well. I haven't seen, that's not quite as popular. I haven't really seen that. We don't get a creature to the bin either, unfortunately, but we put a spell in the bin just in case like Murktide comes up. Also, we can like, this might slow them down if they're not going to literally kill us here. There's Basim, so it is Basim Affinity. Mishra's Bauble, trigger Basim, draw a card. You got it, buddy. Now I can, if they don't find a way to deal with this Oculus, I can shoot the Sheriff. The Basim, unfortunately, actually, the Basim does happen to be a what's the word for it? An outlaw. All right, so they attack like that. I'm gonna go to blocks and just block with my land. Boom. I'll take 6. All right, pop your Bauble. Look at my top card. Please don't push my Oculus. That will kill me. No, they had the second push, you lucky, third push. Very lucky. There's an Emery. It looks like we're going to game 3. I'll give it a draw step though. Okay, Migo, untap, draw. They draw off Bauble. Cling to Dust isn't that bad. Let's go to combat and see if they block here. Attack, trigger the Graveyard Trespasser. I will take the Thoracle out of your graveyard. And would you like to block this? Looks like they wouldn't. So we'll deal damage, bring them to 2. Then let's do some math here. If we kill the construct token with shoot the Sheriff, they're going to attack us for 4, 5, 6, 7, probably 8, because the Emery will bring another creature back or another artifact back. And if they attack us for 8, we can Cling to Dust a creature. Unfortunately, it might have to be my Abhorrent Oculus, but we can try to goad them into alpha striking us. And if it fails and they don't have a way to like deal with my Trespasser, maybe they end up dead. It's pretty narrow margins because they're going to also get to draw a card off the Basim. But I think that's our line, so we're going to take a pass here. It also flips the Trespasser, so it's a little bit bigger. All right, we activate, what are we casting? Is that a second Emery? Sure, that's fine. Maybe it'll put a couple creatures in the bin. All right, Emery triggers. They sack the new one so they can still activate the original one. Unfortunately, that's still just the one Emery in the graveyard as creature. They're going to head to combat. Attack with those 3, huh? Let's go ahead and tap for black, tap for blue. Shoot the Sheriff, target a construct, and then I think I can afford to take 6 here. Yeah, let's just take the 6. If we get Bowmastered, we get Bowmastered. But this also opens us up to like Cling to Dust a non-creature to draw a card to try to find like a removal spell for the Emery. Could be pretty good. Oh no, not a Fatal Push. Don't do that. All right, they have to discard a card. They found their 4th push. Yeah, we'll call that game. Opponent finding 4 push in the top 28 cards of their deck. Pretty unlikely, but it happens. So let's go to sideboard and see what we have for them. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna bring in some graveyard hate. I want both of my spell bombs, not necessarily surgical extraction, just because there's not one threat I can extract from the graveyard that's gonna break up their plan enough. There's no Flage or anything in the matchup, so we're not gonna bother with that. Spell bombs are good though. We're gonna bring in EEs, mainly to blow up construct tokens, but it's also going to handle all of their mana rocks at a really good rate, almost as good as Meltdown. One Bowmaster, because they're a Basim deck and it's going to constantly be drawing them extra cards, so a Bowmaster at the right time can blow them out. And they're a 3-color deck with access to Urza Saga, so a Harbinger of the Seas may just win me the game on the spot. Mystical Dispute is just a swap I'm making for one of my counterspells because I really want to be frogging on turn 2 every game against this opponent. I'm going to cut one Murktide and one Oculus. They're going to be able to attack my graveyard pretty efficiently, especially with the access to the sagas to go get Nihil Spellbombs and stuff, so I want to get a little out of the way. I'm bringing in 2 more 3-drops in the Harbinger, so I want to cut my Trespassers. I'll cut a Consider, just as a trim. I'll cut a Force of Negation because it's card disadvantage and I'm on the play. I'm going to cut a Spell Snare because the only target I can think of is actually the Basim, and maybe Thoracle. It seems kind of medium. And I'll trim the Counterspell for the Mystical Dispute like I was saying before. Let's bring in these 8 and submit. Okay, maybe on the play again. No lands, go to 6. 1 land, and it's a painful one. Go to 5, that's tough. All right, this is our third hand with no lands in it whatsoever. We're gonna have to keep this one. I'm not gonna go to 4. We're gonna have to rely on Thought Scour to do a ton of work for us. So we're gonna pitch the Murktide, and the Oculus, I think, is a little bit dangerous to pitch potentially. Let's think here. Maybe Murktide's actually a little bit better than the Oculus in this spot because I'm going to go Thought Scour turn 1. So if I find the land, I could Murktide as soon as turn 3, and they can't push that. So we'll actually ship the Oculus. In addition to, I think the Fatal Push just isn't something we're necessarily going to have time to get around to casting. So we'll do it like that. Well, we will go ahead and bolt in the Soporific Springs, and we're going to Thought Scour ourselves right now, so our opponent can't like Mystical Dispute or anything. On Unearth, a Bloodstained Mire, which we wanted, but we did get a Harbinger. Let's pass. Polluted Delta, Bobble, the Bobble targeting me, sure. Watery Grave, do you have a Tam Tam? Thought sees me, gross. I think they're supposed to take the Murktide probably. Unless they have like a Basim, then maybe they're supposed to take the Spell Snare. Okay, there goes the Murktide. Pass to me, you draw, absolutely. And then I draw a Spellbomb. Well, I guess we're just not even going to play the Spellbomb. I'm going to hold up Spell Snare. I'll give it a couple turns, but mulling to 5 and not seeing a mana source in any of my first 3 hands, other than the Soporific Springs. Pretty tough. Bobble, crack it, target me, sure dude. Passing to me, probably playing around Spell Snare. I'd have to imagine they have a Basim here. They draw off Bobble. I wonder if their deck's greedy enough to play Counterspell. There's a Gloomlake Verge. It does mean I just have blue right now, because this doesn't tap for black without a basic, but it still lets me play the Nihil Spellbomb. And pass. Great top deck would just be like basic Swamp or Fetch Land that fetches for black, like that Polluted Delta. Mox Amber's fine. Opal's fine. Emery is unfortunately fine. All right, looks like we get they playing Flame of Anor. What is this greedy deck? Draw another Spellbomb. We're gonna go ahead and we'll wait to pop this Spellbomb for them to do something. I think I might need to cycle my Unearth to try to hit a land here, but I think I'll do that at instant speed just to keep holding up this Spell Snare for the time being. That way, if they want to activate their Emery and target a card in their graveyard, I can just crack my Spellbomb in response. There's that. We'll go ahead and crack this, targeting them. I cannot pay the black, unfortunately. All right, there you go. No graveyard for you. What else you got? Tap Sewers? Sure. Bobble? Yes. So many 0-drop artifacts. Bobble me, why not? Are you passing? Yeah. Let's cycle this on Earth. Draw Shoot the Sheriff, not very good. I would like 1 black source, please. Okay, Counterspell isn't gonna do it. We'll go ahead and drop this other Spellbomb and pass the turn. All right, they're gonna go for it again. I am just gonna trade this Spellbomb for a card. The only reason I'm even still able to play this game is there's a chance that they don't have any real action in their hand, and they're just playing with what's on the board. So I need to just let this kind of be what it is. Our opponent taking the Murktide turned out to be very good, because if I had resolved it, there's a good chance they could never get it out of play. As a matter of fact, like, top decking a Murktide wouldn't be the worst here either. They bend in Urza Saga, meaning they might not have an answer for the Harbinger of the Seas. There's an island. That's not going to be great for us, but they still don't have any action. There's no artifacts in the graveyard for Emery. I did just unlock black as well. So what I'm going to do is pass the turn, and at their end step, or when they go to put an artifact in the bin, whichever happens first, we're going to shoot the Sheriff, the Emery, maintaining our Spell Snare being up. Another Bobble. How many Bobbles is that, dude? 1, 2, 3, 4. These dudes are the kings of drawing all 4 of their cards. Ooh, I should have shot the Emery in response. I think this is kind of okay though. Yep, you get another Bobble. That's fine. Yes. Pass to me. All right, here we go. Black, blue. Shoot the Sheriff, your Emery. They're gonna go up to 5 in hand, which isn't ideal. It would only be 4 if I had shot the Sheriff, the Emery first. Not the thing that was on my mind, unfortunately. We're gonna keep passing. Now we have like a reactive hand. Still not looking super good. I'd imagine they fetch for basic Swamp here if they have it. Yeah, just with the knowledge that I have Harbinger. But we've got an answer to like most possible things they have, except for like Saga. I really don't want to play my Harbinger into them having black mana and me not having black mana. Also, Harbinger's mostly an out to the sagas because they do have mana rocks. We're gonna go ahead and Fatal Push this Tamiyo, and then we'll take our turn. Mystical Dispute, sure. We still have infinite responses to everything. Preordain is fine. We don't interact with cantrips for the most part. Dark Slick, sure. Migo. Polluted Delta. Okay, that's another land. That's a black source. We could just try to get our Harbinger in play. What's the over-under on that even being like reasonably good? Locks them out of nothing because of the opal. I think we'll just wait to develop our Harbinger. That said, like a 2/2 attacking might be meaningful. It's kind of hard to tell. I think I'm just going to keep holding mana up. What we really want to do is like find a frog or like an Oculus. We need to start like getting the interaction out of their hand. I think once we find our 5th land, we're more likely to drop the Harbinger because we'll have Spell Snare plus Mystical Dispute. For now, we're going to leave this Polluted Delta uncracked. Another sink into Stupor. We'll definitely play that as a land. We will bolt it into play. We'll fetch for the basic swamp. We need to start doing something here, so we will try to put the Harbinger into play and just start to try to trade for resources. Let's go boop, boop, boop. With no black spells in our hand, we're fine just jamming the Harbinger. Float a bunch of mana, sure. Harbinger. Your go. What are they going to do? Flame of Anor the Harbinger? Do we respond to the Flame of Anor? They would rather deal 5 damage to my Harbinger than draw 2 cards. That said, protecting it puts me shields down completely. So if they have a Kappa Cannon there or something, I just can't beat it. So I do have to let it go. Harbinger did its job at attrition for 1 card. Tap for a Spellbomb. I think I have to counter this. I don't love countering this, but my graveyard's the only resource I have this game. They might even, yeah, they Spell Snare back. Okay, that's fine. All right, they crack Spellbomb targeting me, sure. Pay the black, draw card, sure. Ooh, Nashi. What does this card do? And just mill cards, put enchantment. Okay, sure, that's fine. All right, pass to me. We'll take a draw step here. Fatal Push the Nashi seems pretty good. That's lucky for me. Kill your dude. All right, you go. They still have a pretty stark card advantage over me. We really need to like develop a threat at some point. Those openers were brutal. Sometimes there's just nothing you can do about that though. Untap, draw, Force of Negation. I'm responding to stuff, dude. Pass to you. They're gonna draw 2 cards. How about I hard cast Force of Negation targeting Flame of Anor? You go. Tamiyo? Yeah, I can't stop you from doing that. Pass to me. All right, 1 Froggo, please. Hello, Mr. Psychic Frog. Tap for 2. Play the Psychic Frog. Hope our opponent just can't like kill it. That's unlikely at this point. They've been holding the same 4 cards for most of the game. But so far, it lives. They go to combat, turn it sideways, make a clue. I will not jump my frog and block. That's asking to get blown out even more than I was already blown out by my my opener. Basim. I would like to Spell Snare Basim, please. Underworld Breach. Does this kill me? Are there pushes in your graveyard? There are not. There's a Flame of Anor. We can actually dispute that. All right, there's the Basim. We're not going to dispute that. Amber's fine. And that's the reason we don't dispute the Basim. We want to like try to get them to Flame of Anor to like kill frog, draw 2. That's when we want to crack the dispute. Although they can't. They don't have red up. So, but disputing the Basim would have been like pretty medium because they just re-escape it. They go, don't pay. Escape the same, not great. There's Emery. This we can dispute. We can make them cast it again, I think, is like fine. Yeah, I think we need to do that. Their graveyard as empty as possible. For them to escape it again, they'll have to exile 3 more. All right, here's Emery number 2. Enters mill 4. There's a Fatal Push. Okay, now we're dead. That's unfortunate. Got very unlucky there, but we'll go into round number 2 and try. We're just ready to pretend that game never happened. All right, we win another die roll, so that's sweet. Let's see some lands. I should have been more specific. There is one downside to the Thought Scour, and that is that we can't produce black with it until we get a basic land type. So that's basically every other land in our deck for the most part, hold for the Otawara. So it's not a huge deal. We do have double Thought Scour. So if we are able to find a land within like the next 3 draw steps that we're going to get off Thought Scours, it actually makes this Abhorrent Oculus in our hand look pretty good. So I think I'm going to keep a greedy one. Looks like we're playing against Eldrazi, which is like fine. Game 1 can be a little tough for us. Once we get access to all our consigns, and our Harbinger gets a little bit easier. Devourer of Destiny doing the thing. What do we get exiled? Show me. 3 cards enter the exile zone. Looks like it's going to be Breach. We've got Utopia, Sprawl, Stomping Ground, and Forest. All right, there's the Labyrinth. Sure, that's fine. Exiling the Devourer. Passing to me. Great. All right, let's Thought Scour, target me. We don't draw the land. Do we get anything sweet in the graveyard? No, but we didn't mill a land either, so there's that. We technically milled a sink and a Stupor, but that's okay. Fatal Push, not great, but we get one more try here. Thought Scour, target self. Okay, still no hits. 2 lands on that one. That was brutal. We'll pass the turn. We've got another Thought Scour, and Abhorrent Oculus can be pretty good in this matchup. Why do I have a... Oh, I have a stop, set, and upkeep because of my last round opponent. Misty Rainforest. Please don't mainboard Trinisphere. Pass to me. Great. Me on tap and draw. Ooh, no land again. Let's go ahead and Thought Scour ourselves. Okay, we don't hit again. Now we're gonna have to go to discard. We'll try to use this discard to our advantage and pitch an Abhorrent Oculus. They're gonna fetch Forest. Sure. What are you gonna Kozilek's Command? For like 1. Yep, you got it. Cozy's for 1. Make an Eldrazi spawn. Scry 1. Draw a card. All right, they put 0 on top, so that's not all bad. Bin the Oculus. Fetch Shuff a Misty. Sure. Ancient Stirrings. You got it, buddy. Take Sowing Myco spawn. Yeah, them if... Well, they can't cast it this turn, so I guess we can... No, they can. They can stack the Eldrazi spawn. Get another Eldrazi land, like a temple. Let's see what they do, but I imagine they get a temple. Then they just put us in danger of the, like the Devourer or a billion other things for the rest of the game, which seems like not winning for us. Utopia Sprawl, that's fine. Looks like they'd like to kick the Sowing Myco spawn to deal with our 1 land, which makes sense. We'll F6, and if we don't draw Black Source here, we'll just concede. Poor RNG this run. Okay, we'll concede here. We've got some sideboard considerations for this matchup. Let's bring in 4 Consign to Memories and 2 Harbinger of the Seas. This is a very simple sideboard plan that is quite effective. We're going to take out 2 Graveyard Trespassers. They don't really do anything versus this deck. We're also going to cut like 2 Fatal Push. We still want some number to be able to hit the Rogue Sowing Myco spawn, but for the most part, that's about it. We're also going to drop 2 Spell Snare. This card really only counters the Talismans, which aren't very potent in this matchup. And that's all we're doing. Let's submit. Okay, we'll take the play. This hand has 0 lands. Mulligan. 1 lander. At least we can surveil. I think we take that, right? We just pitch maybe the Abhorrent Oculus. Yeah, I guess we'll try it. Yeah, I'll pitch the Oculus. Keep this. Polluted Delta. We're gonna go get a surveil land to try to secure our 2nd land drop. Then, since we're on the play, instead of just like holding up Counterspell, we're likely to go Psychic Frog. Our big goal is to just resolve this Harbinger. Okay, here's the Polluted Delta. Here's me passing. Even if they do something like play Ugin's Lab, we can't really, we don't have the maneuverability to like consign the trigger, so it only taps for 1. So we just kind of have to let it go if they have it. All right, there's just a forest. That's fine. What do we got? Ancient Stirrings, also fine. Get an Eldrazi Temple, sure. Pass to me? Nice. All right, deck, do the thing we need you to. Undercity Sewers. Show me the top. It's a land. We leave it on top. Got lucky. Okay, on tap and draw. And then let's jam this Psychic Frog. Land, fetch. We can just get a basic island here pretty comfortably. Play Frog, and then pass the turn. And if our opponent can't deal with the Frog, which isn't horribly likely without like a Dismember or something, Malevolent Rumble's fine. Then we can, we'll be able to get in with the Frog. And even if we can't Harbinger, we can hold up Interaction for a good part of the game, which is going to be great. They pass to us. We take a draw. Otawara. So we don't want to use that for the Harbinger just yet. We'd like to secure our Black Source. What we will do is I think we want this Frog to be flying pretty badly. So I'm actually fine to discard Counterspell and then fly my Frog. No blocking for you. Go to combat and attack for 2 in the air. They take 2, go to 18, draw a Polluted Delta. Nope, it's an Unearth. Well, that's pretty cool. Maybe I don't need black anymore. Maybe I go Otawara, discard Harbinger to the Frog, tap for black, pretend I don't need that color anymore, and Unearth the Harbinger, and then pass, because we've got Consign and Counterspell now. Another temple. Are we going to see a Sowing Myco spawn, perhaps? Malevolent Rumble. We okay with that? Maybe we're not. No, I think Malevolent Rumble is okay. We'll let that happen. What we'll probably start doing is instead of flying the Frog, we'll just start sending both of our creatures in, and they can either take the damage or lose their mana sources. Ghost Vacuum is fine, I think. I'm not super concerned about that. To me, great. Okay, untap and draw. Another land. We probably won't be using that. We'll just go to combat. Our opponent has us stopped in our draw step for some reason. I don't know what that's all about. Go to combat, attack with both. If they want to chump, that's fine. That's like 2 strip mines from my position right now. All right, they don't block, which makes a lot of sense to me. All right, Frog deals damage, so I draw a card, which is sweet. Another Frog. We're never going to be casting that. It's highly unlikely that we'll ever find our first black source. So we'll just play this island and hold up Consign, Kick plus Counterspell, and this Frog will probably be frog food. They also neglected to use their Ghost Vacuum, which just seems like lost value. We're just casting a Sowing Myco spawn. No, I think I think it's actually fine for you to get a land. What could you get? Like a mountain? Maybe that's not fine. Kind of hard to tell. Maybe both of these things are just fine. I don't think I'm going to interact with this, because if I consign the trigger and the Sowing Myco spawn, let's say, that creates an issue where, okay, they don't have a basic mountain, so that's good. But if I do that, that opens them up to being able to like resolve the trigger off of a Devourer of Destinies, which will kill us pretty easily. And I don't want to burn my Counterspell on it just in case they had a basic mountain so they could cast Through the Breach, which I currently don't have an answer to. So we'll take an untap, take a draw. It's an Unearth. I think what I'll do here is I'm going to pitch Psychic Frog to Psychic Frog, and they can Ghost Vacuum something if they want, but I don't care because I'm going to pitch Unearth to Psychic Frog, and then I'm going to exile my graveyard to Psychic Frog and get busy for 5. I'm never going to attack my 2/2 into their 3/3, but this Frog's a good enough clock on its own. Drop you down to 8, I'll draw a card. Yeah, me draw. Bloodstained Mire. Unlikely that I'm gonna need, a second Soaring Microspawn would be a really good reason to have all these spells in my hand. I would like to be able to kill our opponent next turn, and if they only force me to use one spell to preserve my frog, next turn I can draw my card, pitch all 3, fly the frog, and it'll attack for 8. So I think I'm actually just gonna hold my land. It would be nice to have Counterspell plus Consign Triple Kick, but if I need to Consign Triple Kick, they probably have used all their mana anyway, and I won't need to use the Counterspell, so it should be fine. They head into combat, which is fine. They pass to me? Sure. Me on tap. Are they going to Cozy's Command in upkeep? Looks like it. Just a huge Cozy's Command. They're just dead now. This does not resolve. Yeah, no. No, thank you. Discard Bloodstained Mire to the frog. Discard Abhorrent Oculus to the frog. They tap to exile the Oculus. I'll exile the Oculus myself to fly it. And then frog becomes 7 power. It already has flying, so now we'll discard, go to combat, and do the frog thing. Attack for lethal. GG. Nice. All right, we got game 2. So for game 3, there's no real changes we want to make. We're fine with all of this. So we're just going to submit. Okay, this is the first game around the draw, which makes it a little bit more scary, but we would like to see multiple consigns would be ideal, or a super aggressive Harbinger would be fine too. This hand has... We've got a Force of Negation. Aki and Murktide don't pair super well together right now. We don't have a great way to fill the bin. I am just going to mulligan this hand. This hand has a couple Fatal Push, which aren't great. We've got Frog, Spell Pierce, Counterspell. I think we will keep this and ship a push. If our opponent mumbles at any point, we'll gladly push the token just to convert the card. No Devourer start, which is nice. We'll lead on the Bloodstained Mire. That way we can get a Underground or Undercity Sewers just to get a little Surveil action in. We'll obviously hold it up just in case we need to Spell Pierce. I'd probably Spell Pierce like a Malevolent Rumble. All right, there's a fetch. Shock, Utopia Sprawl, or Ancient Stirring. Sprawl, sure. Pass to me. Sweet, untapped draw. All right, Sink into Stupor's like fine for now. Might end up being frog food depending on how this game goes. Eldrazi Temple, please don't Thought Not Seer me. They tap for 3. Will cost 3. Talisman of Curiosity. If you have the Veil of Summer, fine. We're gonna grab Watery Grave, shock it into play, and try to Spell Pierce. Okay, looks like they don't. Do you have like another Utopia Sprawl maybe? Utopia Sprawl will fall off the breeding pool if I ever land a Harbinger, because it ceases to be a forest. Is there a reason to not play the frog here? I mean, the big reason to not play the frog is to not get Cozy's commanded, which they can just do. But I don't know how much I'm paid off for not playing the frog, because if I want to protect it from Cozy's command, I'm gonna have to wait till turn 4, and that's a little bit slow. So we have to take a risk here. Play the frog. Blue, black, and then pass to you, opponent. Maybe they freak out about Force of Negation and do it in my upkeep. That would be cool. Cavern of Souls naming Eldrazi, sure. Pass to me. Do I get to keep my frog? I do. All right, we just draw a land, but that's okay. We're gonna go to combat. We're gonna pitch some stuff to this frog. We can't not do anything. We need to start dealing some damage. All right, first we'll pitch this island to the frog, make it 2 power. We would like to make our land drop this turn. This Fatal Push could wind up being okay-ish, so we'll just let it deal 2 for now. Treat it like a lightning bolt. We usually attack with the frog 3 to 4 times to kill. So if we discard the card the first turn, it's pretty good. There's a Bloodstained Mire, so we'll play that. That wants to get our basic swamp in the event we're able to find a Harbinger. They don't do anything with their turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They've got 6 mana, so there's going to be no Devourer. Ghost Vacuum's fine. That's actually really low impact here. It looks like they're just passing. I'm gonna do nothing, I think. Maybe I don't care about my second black source. Let's just actually grab Undercity Sewers. All right, trigger the sewers. Misty Rainforest to the bin. My turn. Something sick off the top, please. Another land. Well, we're probably pitching both of those to the frog. Let's go to combat. Attack with the frog. And then maybe we just pitch one. We'll just pitch the Misty Rainforest. And maybe Fatal Push isn't good anymore as well. Yeah, let's pitch the Fatal Push. That'll deal 4. Then if I can deal 6 the following turn and the turn after that, that will be lethal. So yeah, I like this tempo well enough. Let's attack for 4. Get in, try to bring you to 11. All right, frog hits. There's an Unearth. Not great, but it's frog food. We will drop the Polluted Delta as a land and pass the turn. They want to Ghost Vacuum my Fatal Push. That's fine. The only time we'll like fly frog in response to a Ghost Vacuum is if they're like trying to hit one of our creatures, because they do have enough mana where they can crack that Ghost Vacuum most of the time. Another Ugin's Labyrinth is fine. And we're pretty likely to just fetch for another Undercity Sewers. We just want action now. They don't exile anything to the Ugin's Labyrinth. Now we can Devourer here, which is not so great for us. It's a World Breaker, so that thing can't hit our frog, which is great. So we're actually going to go blue, blue, blue. I'm actually going to sink into Stupor, the World Breaker, and just time walk them really quick. And you can have my Undercity Sewers. That's fine. All right, they pass to us. We're just going to fetch at their end step and grab a sewer. One Harbinger, please. Consign, pretty good. We'll leave that on top. All right, well, on tap, we're going for that kill now. Like, we can't kill this turn, but we're setting up for, like, the turn after this. We're going to try to kill. So we'll discard Unearth to make the frog 5. That'll bring them down to 6. The next turn, whatever we draw, we'll pitch to the frog to make 6. And that's the power of like knowing when and how fast to discard cards to your frog. Because a lot of people, I think, forget that it's cumulative. It's not like Psychotog. It doesn't go away at end of turn. So that first card we pitched wound up being like a bolt +1 to our opponent, which is really good. We take a draw off the Psychic Frog. It's a land. I think we're actually just going to play the land in case we need to kick Consign plus Counterspell. Highly unlikely that happens, but we will just have a card to pitch when we draw for turn, so we'll pass. All right, they take out our Sink into Stupor. That's fine. They tap for 1, 2. Looks like they're going to try to World Breaker us again, potentially, and if they do that, that is just game. All right, here's a blue, here's a whatever. Consign, cast with Replicate, hit the World Breaker trigger. No, hit the World Breaker first, and then we will do it once. And the second one will hit the World Breaker trigger. No trigger, no World Breaker. Oh, it can't be countered. That's fine. Well, that's actually less fine because it does have reach. So we're going to have to jump our frog way, not jump it, but we're going to have to get it up to 7 power, meaning we might wind up losing this Counterspell. So that's a little bit tricky. There's a Harbinger of Seas. What does that do for us? What if I play this Harbinger and hang back for a turn? It brings them back to the Stone Age mana-wise. Let's do that. Grab a Swamp and just drop this Harbinger. And there goes their Utopia Sprawl. So that's how we're going to handle this turn. We can't really afford to attack. We'll just wait a turn. They exile my Consign, that's fine. And then your turn, opponent. Nice islands. Hopefully they don't have a Kozilek's Command. That would be how we lose this game. Ancient Stirrings is fine. Please don't find Cozies off of it. That's a tall order. They are going 5 deep. They reveal a forest, which is fine. Passing to us, hopefully. All right, great. Now I'm going to attack with both because they have to block the frog. And I don't even need to grow the frog at all. I just need to hit with the Harbinger. The frog and the World Breaker will bounce off of one another, which is really nice. All right, there's the block on the frog. I don't need to discard anything to the frog. 5 doesn't kill 6, 5 doesn't kill 7, so they just bounce off each other too. And now I've got this Consign and this Counterspell to deal with most things. Also, their Cavern of Souls is shut off. Yep, Ghost Vacuum, exiling anything is totally fine with me. World Breaker having reach is a pain in the butt for sure. There's another forest, sure. They can't attack me. What do you have to do, pass? Do you have anything? No? Good talk. Me. All right, that's a Delta. We're just gonna attack with both creatures. You won't even pitch to the frog. We're fine with it just bouncing off the World Breaker. Next turn, the Harbinger will kill them if they don't have anything. That's fine. Take 2. Okay, go ahead, opponent. Find something right now. Ghost Vacuum, my Swamp, or whatever that is, Unearth, sure. There sure are no creatures under here. Misty. Okay. All right, they concede. Great. We got that game. For a second, it almost got dicey. I forgot they had a Cavern in play, but we had enough. We found our Harbinger when we needed to. So we're 1-1. We're going to still pretend game 1 didn't happen and get into round number 3. All right, found round 3 opponent. We will be on the play because we're so lucky. This hand, less lucky. We have a tapped land as our turn 1, and no real potent follow-ups. We do have a Thought Scour. So this Oculus is castable. So if we keep this, we go Undercity Sewers, hoping to hit land. If we don't, we have to draw it after surveilling to the bin. And if we don't, then we want to Thought Scour ourselves immediately. That seems... This hand is like kind of close. If we were on the draw, we could go to discard, but that's you usually don't do that. Spell Snare makes this really enticing because if I do just happen to find the land, I have responses to like every possible thing. For the first few turns, then I just play an Oculus and try to turn the game over. Would I keep this as a 6? If I were to keep this as a 6, I'd keep it and just pitch the Graveyard Trespasser, I think. I think we'll keep this. It's really close. I think it's probably, at the end of the day, not supposed to risk it, but I do like hands like this. If things go my way, it's going to be an easy game. If they don't, I'm going to refer you to the round 1 we're supposed to be forgetting. Here's my Undercity Sewers. Never punish, just find a land on top. Nope, not quite, but we'll put that in the graveyard and pass. What would have been really good is if that was an Oculus. Then we'd be fine having a 1-lander. Arid Mesa, is this going to be energy? Hopefully not Amulet, draw Swamp, never ever punished. I mean, I guess we can't cast the Counterspell, so there's that, but that's okay. We could Thought Scour ourselves right now, but I like the idea of holding up Spell Snare. But Thought Scouring ourselves, if we did like randomly hit an Oculus, that would be really good. Xander's Lounge, this could be creativity. Flooded Strand, it's not. They might play a Renin 6 here, hopefully not a Scion. It's a Scion, that's tough. We'll allow it to resolve. Abhorrent Oculus actually contends with the Scion pretty well, but we need Thought Scour to be good to us. Blue, Thought Scour target me. We bin our island, which is tough. All things considered, could have gone worse. We'll untap and draw. Fatal Push does not deal with Scion. We're passing. We're gonna give it another turn. If this was like anything but a 12 drop, our hand would be set up really well to deal with it, but we did not, unfortunately, find our second blue for Counterspell. Thundering Falls, we're going top. We're going top. This Scion, luckily, doesn't have lifelink, so we've got a couple of turns to figure it out. All right, they're just passing, so I think I'm actually going to cycle this Unearth. All right, draw another Spell Snare. That card's going to be pretty medium in this matchup. All right, now we kind of have to just Thought Scour ourselves and pray. RNG has not been on our side for most of the day. There's a Misty, so not nothing. For now, we have to pass. Next turn, we can try to jam the Oculus. Leyline Binding becomes like a real problem for the remainder of the game though. In an ideal world, our opponent like taps out, but that's also kind of unlikely. Please no second Scion. They're tapping for 4. They're gonna play Leyline of the Guildpact. Cool. I'm going to, do I even interact with that? Actually a real question, because this is gonna allow me to Oculus and protect it with Force of Negation. Now that's gonna blink really hard to double Leyline, unfortunately. But these Spell Snares are rotting in my hand. Yeah, I am just gonna go ahead and deal with this. You know what? Actually, what we can do first is Surveil one more time and see what we're gonna draw next turn. Take a little Surveil action. If the top card's another Force, that feels really good. All right, Misty, do we want land number 4 just yet? Hate land number 4. Let's see, we can play land number 4 holding up Spell Snare, which won't really help us versus the Leyline Binding, but it'll stop things like Territorial Kavu and Tribal Flames if they're playing that. Also, they could be on the Rhinos version, and I really want to find that out. I think maybe I'm just supposed to get a little greedy here, because what if Spell Snare isn't good? I'm just going to go all the way greedy. I'm going to bin this. I am going to Force of Negation the Leyline. I really don't want them to start gaining life. So we'll target the Leyline, pitch Spell Snare, plan to get super duper lucky and just draw our second Force of Negation. Could be okay. Go to 11. Ouch. My turn. Counterspell, not quite what we want, but we will make do. Here's my Aki. We'll exile 1, 2, 3 lands, Thought Scour, Unearth. Oh, and a Force of Negation, I suppose. Subtlety. Okay, so we will put that on the bottom. And now I think I can make the assumption there are Rhinos, because the non-Rhinos version typically doesn't play Subtlety. We'll give it one more turn. Bottom. We're bottoming it because we unfortunately can't cast it next turn. So we're hoping to draw like Shoot the Sheriff or something. Also, if they just Rhinos us, that'll be like, we'll lose the game, but it'll be a good thing because then we'll know for a fact they're on Rhinos and we'll be able to bring in Engineered Explosives. Consign to Memory is also going to be better than average. We take 4 to the Scion. That's fine. All right, they just passed, sure. There's Consider. Let's cast that now. Frog? Yeah, we'll keep a Frog on top. Frog can actually contend with the Scion. It obviously dies to Binding. Pass to you. Do you have it though? So far, no. Although they might be more interested in trying to make me discard a bunch of cards to my Frog. Spoiler alert, I'm not going to. I'm going to take the 4 here. If they're Tribal Flames, which I'm actually doubting at this point, I do die. But if they're not, I can then use my Frog to protect my life total while holding up Counterspell, which will be quite a bit better. There's a Polluted Delta, so we'll play that. We're not going to attack with the Frog. Now I'm going to assume a defensive stance, and we'll probably discard Graveyard Trespasser, Fatal Push, plus Spell Snare, and float the Frog that way. There is Binding. We will Counterspell. Breeding Pool, do we shock it? We shock the Breeding Pool. So far, we haven't seen anything that costs less than 3. So now I'm just going to be on the assumption they're playing Rhinos. We'll discard Fatal Push. We will discard Graveyard Trespasser, and we're going to discard Spell Snare, and just hope they don't have anything. Unlikely, they've got 4 in hand, but we play to our outs. Flying Frog. I want to block your Scion, please. Petty Theft. Okay, Petty Theft is a guarantee. So they're for sure on Rhinos. Took a pretty easy loss there. Got a little unlucky. Not super unlucky. Just a little tricky with our mana. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring in Harbinger of the Seas, because they're a Leyline deck. So they're going to need all 5 colors. And Harbinger, if it comes in after a Leyline of the Guildpact, if they haven't gotten basic, it's still going to make everything into an island. And that's going to cut them off of basically everything. 4 Consign to Memory is for a myriad of reasons. It counters Scion of Draco. It counters the Cascade trigger. It counters the trigger from Leyline Binding. And that, for the most part, is it. It's just going to deal with like basically all of the things in their deck that I care about the most. Surgical Extraction. Our main target's just Rhinos. We're going to want to like counter Rhinos exile it from the deck, not worry about that part of the game plan. 2 EEs, also a concession to the Rhinos. We're going to take out 2 Graveyard Trespassers. Their deck doesn't really care as much about those. 3 Spell Snares. They can't play 2 drops. Obviously, we can Spell Snare Petty Theft and Fire Ice sometimes, but that's not usually going to be what we want to be doing that early in the game. We're going to trim 1 Consider as a trim. Abhorrent Oculus and Murktide, because they might be a Leyline of the Void deck, and I don't want to be too all in on my graveyard. And a Fatal Push, just because most of their creatures other than Rhinos aren't pushable, and we have other ways to deal with their Rhinos. Me be on the play. Let's see here. This hand has no threats, all reaction. Not very good. We're going to mulligan. This hand, similar, but we've got multiple Thought Scours to set up Harbinger and Murktide, which seems pretty sweet. Force of Negation can also be pretty good, so we'll keep. Our opponent also mulligans, which is nice. We'll pitch the island. A trick we might do, you know, we're on the play, we're not going to do that. On the draw, next game, if we're able to win this game, a trick you can do against Rhinos is to not crack your fetches until you have to. It'll shut off their ice side of Fire and Ice from tempoing you out. This game, that's unlikely to be very potent, so we'll just play this Polluted Delta and pass. Portico is fine. They don't have any ley lines to exile at the beginning of the game, which is fine. That's great for us. And we will just fetch Shock and Thought Scour ourselves. Watery Grave, ouch. Thought Scour myself. Try to get lucky. Casual Entomb. Nope, but there goes our Surgical. We'll take an untap and draw. All right, we drew 2 lands, which isn't the greatest. Naturally drawing basic swamp isn't the worst though, and we can go Polluted Delta, and next turn plan to fetch for a Surveil land, and then in response to the trigger, cast Thought Scour to get a little bit more control over which cards we're getting. Portico into Temple Garden is not a winning sequence of lands. Okay, let's fetch. Grab Undercity Sewers, put the trigger on the stack, tap for blue, Thought Scour, target myself. We get a Murktide to the bin. We draw a Counterspell, which isn't bad. Top card, Psychic Frog. We will leave that on top. Untap and draw the Frog. Play the Swamp, tap it for black, tap this for blue, play the Frog. If they want a Subtlety, we're okay with that. We're going to put it right back where we found it. They don't, so we're just going to pass. They untap, they draw. What are we going to do? Breeding Pool, shock it. Are we going to try to Rhinos? Looks like it. So we'll let the Cascade trigger resolve. And then the Rhinos, we're actually going to exile Counterspell to Force of Negation. No thank you. Please don't do that. But you do get a Shardless Agent. Pass to me? Great. All right, Frog, let's find some good, happy, awesome cards. Hey, that's a Harbinger of the Seas. That's a good, happy, awesome card. What if we just deal with everything? You know, subtlety is a consideration. So why don't we fly the Frog? We'll get rid of 2 lands and a force. Get busy. See what we draw first. Attack for 1 in the air. I'm not going to discard anything. I think I want access to all these cards. Trigger the Frog, draw a card. That's an Abhorrent Oculus. We could also just cast the Abhorrent Oculus. Of these 2 things, which do I want to resolve more? Honestly, I think it's the Harbinger. I think we just kind of have to go for it, right? We should go. I think we do want to hold up the Fatal Push as well. We'll go Bloodstained Mire. We're going to fetch and shock for a Watery Grave, because I'm gonna, no, we can't do that. That is a Undercity Sewers. Tough. Looks like we're gonna grab the Undercity Sewers. Should have thought about that. There's a Watery Grave hanging out right there in my graveyard. Consign to Memory, not a bad card to just have on top of my deck. So we'll leave it on top of my deck. That means that we can, subtlety, definitely a consideration here. But I might want to make them pitch cast it here and now. Might make the most sense to Oculus, let them subtlety it, then bottom the, you know what? No, I think that's actually wrong. I think I should Harbinger, let them subtlety it. I'll bottom the Harbinger, and then I'll draw the Consign to Memory. I'll play the Abhorrent Oculus and have a Consign to stop any extra subtleties or solitudes they might have. And the Abhorrent Oculus is going to get in the way of the Rhinos. I think I actually would rather resolve the Oculus in this spot than the Harbinger in a weird twist of fate. So we cast the Harbinger first, because if they don't have subtlety, this probably just wins the game on its own. So let's see if they subtlety this. If they do, we're going bottom, because they're probably going to see this as a, you know, a chink in the armor and just jam another Cascader next turn. And an Oculus will do a really good job of fighting that off. There's the subtlety. That's all fine. Bottom, please. Your turn, opponent. Obviously, we're not keeping the Harbinger on top because we're going to lock ourselves out of our Consign. And, ooh, that's a basic Plains too, so it wouldn't have been as good. Although Plains Island basically just gives them access to Ardent Plea. There's a Leyline binding, so they don't even have the Cascader. So I'm actually pretty happy with how this is playing out. They attack for 2, and I think the only way you have to deal with this Oculus binding, which I can Consign. So now we draw the Consign, tap for blue, blue, black, play the Abhorrent Oculus, exiling 6 things. We'll leave a Thought Scour in the bin for the potential Murktide, and then we'll pass, because now we have this Consign. Meaning I really don't know how they're supposed to get this thing out of play. I just think at the end of the day, they can't. Oculus triggers. We see the top 2. We're going to put a Harbinger face down, which is messed up. It's happened for 3 for an Ardent Plea. Well, that's fine. I am going to consign to memory the Cascade trigger. You can have Exalted, though. That's totally fine with me. All right, you passing to me, I assume. The attack for 2 just doesn't make any sense. And I am going to do my favorite thing ever, which is, ooh, I could just play Psychic Frog. But I think I'm just happier flipping this Harbinger face up. Hello. Then go to combat and attack for 5 in the air. Hiya. Easy peasy. You go to 12. I don't know how you're supposed to get out of this, buddy. And then pass to you. I get another Oculus trigger. I love the Oculus so much. We'll put Otawara face down because Sink into Stupor helps Murktide. They're going to combat. They're passing. Great. Untap and draw a Polluted Delta. We're going to go to combat and we'll attack with everything but the Harbinger. Doink, doink. That way, if they want to hard cast a subtlety, you know, if they kill my manifest, I can just fatal push it. All right, they just want to trade with my 2/2. That's fine. All right, you go to 7. I will play the frog and hold the Polluted Delta. Froggo, hardcast subtlety. That's fine. I'm putting Froggo back on top and I will manifest it. Okay, you can go, I think. Do I want this? No, I don't want this Polluted Delta in play for any reason. I want to pitch it to the frog. It's frog food. Trigger the Oculus. I will put this frog face down. It's actually face up because they see that I put a fatal push in my bin. They concede we're going to game 3. Great. That worked out swimmingly. No real changes going into game 3. I'm actually pretty fine with this orientation. We're just going to hit submit. All right. Double push. Consider Aki. Sync. Like no sideboard cards. Double push isn't great. We're always happy to see like 1. Because sometimes you can just like deal with 1 Rhino and have a frog to deal with the other one. It'll never be able to get through the frog. Or you can just race it with the frog. But this hand, having Oculus as the first threat with not even a Thought Scour to help power it out, I think we're just going to go ahead and mulligan to 6. Also on the draw, we really do want Consign to memory pretty bad, because if they open on Leyline of the Guild Pact and we can't deal with the Scion, we're dead. So let's mulligan. This hand has 2 Unearths, an EE, Thought Scour. The double Unearth isn't great, and there's no threat. I think we need to get a little bit greedy and go down to 5. There's a world where this hand plays out just fine, because the Thought Scour like bins something insane immediately. Maybe we play to that actually. Let me see. What does this hand look like if I just cut the Unearth? I've got a push for like a Rhino or a just random threat subtlety or something, or frog food if I find it. Then I can Thought Scour into an attempt at Unearth, and EE stops Rhinos. The only thing this hand is horrified of is Leyline into Scion. But if we go to 6, or if we go to 5 and keep a medium 5 that, you know, there's a good chance it doesn't have a consign, we probably die there too. So we'll keep this. Pitch the Unearth. Let's go. No pre-game action. Breeding Pool, shock it, suspend Rhinos, turn 1. Looks like it. Great. Okay, so the EE is pretty good here. Also, they can't turn 2 Dracous, so it looks like we dodged the worst case scenario. There's a Harbinger, which I think is cool. We'll play Polluted Delta. We'll just pass the turn. All right, Rhinos loses its first time counter, goes down to 3. Arid Mesa, pass to me. We're going to fetch, shock, and Thought Scour ourselves, just in case we get incredibly lucky and get a casual Entomb. Blue, Thought Scour me. No casual Entomb. We do find an Abhorrent Oculus, though. We'll say just the wrong order. If that Abhorrent Oculus was only 1 higher, we would have been way better off. We'll play this Swamp. I'm not interested in having my Engineered Explosives Force of Negation. I would much rather have it, well, we're not interested in having our EE Mystical Disputed for 3. I'd much rather have it Force of Negation. So we'll play the EE. 4-0. Could, of course, Leyline Binding it, but I think I just have to get it out of my hand now because they probably have Mystical Disputes. I don't want to offer them to convert into my Engineered Explosives with a Mystical Dispute. That would be a blowout. Lush Portico. Sure, you're a Bant deck. Rhinos goes to 2 time counters. Floody Strand. Sure. Pass to me. I'm going to cycle this Unearth. Currently nothing to do with it, and I would really like to hit my 3rd land drop, so cycle. All right, Sink into Stupor. That is a land. Untap. Draw. Psychic Frog. Poor ordering deck. Let's go Sink into Stupor. We'll bolt it into play. We're just gonna try to play this first Harbinger. See if they got a subtlety or a mystical dispute. They fetch, sure. Plains, sure. All right, there's my Harbinger, I guess. Go ahead, dude. They could have Petty Theft, which is like fine. Island Cycle, Larian revealed. Yep, you can have as many islands as you want. Goes down to, what is that? 1 time counter left? Yep, 1 time counter. So they're gonna get Rhinos next turn. Passing, me on tap. There's a counterspell. We are going to get busy for 2. If they want to flash in a threat, we'll just try to counterspell it. They don't, so we're going to attack for 2. And then, do we want to develop Frog here? I kind of just like holding this counterspell up. We're just going to pass, because they could want to Leyline Binding us as well. Rhinos. Yep, you get Rhinos. I'm not going to counterspell that. I have Engineered Explosives. You have 2 4/4s with Trample. And another island. Are you passing to me? I have an action. I would like to crack my EE. All right, no more Rhinos. My turn. Consign to memory. Great pickup here. We'll go to combat and attack for 2. Then we're probably just going to play the Frog because we have Consign. Ooh, it's a Leyline Binding. We will allow the binding to resolve. Then I think we will Consign to memory. I do want to cast Frog. So this plays pretty poorly into, you know, maybe it's fine. Maybe I just can wait to cast the frog, because Mystical Dispute's something I'm concerned with. So maybe I can just go blue, cast with Replicate, target Leyline Binding, replicate it once, because I'll hold up Fatal Push, just in case they're able to Rhinos. And then we'll go same targets, and you can just have that in play, that's fine. Take 2. And then if they go Rhinos, which they can do with Ardent Plea, they can't do it with, they can't produce green, because of the Harbinger, so they can't play Shardless Agent. But if they're able to go Rhinos, we can go Fatal Push 1 Rhino, plus play my own Abhorrent Oculus, which looks like is going to be what happens. Ardent Plea happens, we get 2 4/4s. Yep, you got it. Pair of dudes, and you have Exalted. I will now use my Fatal Push and destroy a Rhino. Me go. Sink into Stupor? Yeah, I'll play that as a land. Then I guess Frog is just about as good here, right? I can just take 4 from the first Rhino and hold up Counterspell. I like that a lot. Here's my Froggo. All right, they pitch cast Subtlety. What if I just let that happen? I can just take 4 here. I've got a Counterspell to back up anything else. Yeah, we'll just put it back on top. Yep, we'll go tippy top. We can like slot ourselves to take 8 from this Rhino. That'll only bring us down to 6. That's totally fine. What we want to do is just next turn redeploy Frog. And if they have an answer to that one, we'll probably counterspell it. And then we just deploy Abhorrent Oculus. And then I'm not sure how we lose. Like, I think the way we lose here, I guess we'll take 10. That is a little bit more dangerous because that puts us at lethal to 1 Rhino attack. But what it opens up for us is just freely deploying our threats, which I think is something we're interested in. Although it is worth mentioning that like that Rhino's huge, but I still think I'm going to commit to that play. We'll go black, blue, another Psychic Frog. All right, that one resolves. We are going to attack for 2 as well. I have just no interest in blocking with this Harbinger. All right, you take 2, and then you go. They attack for 5. We're just gonna take 5. Ouch, I go to 4, pass to me. Okay, Gloomlake Verge, that's great. So I can play Gloomlake Verge. Before I even commit to an attack, I am gonna jam the Oculus, exiling Engineered, Polluted Delta, Engineered, and then just some number of instants and sorceries. And looks like they don't have the interaction for it, so I'll go to combat and I'll attack with both my creatures. I will pitch Harbinger to the Frog. You know what, maybe I won't. No, I'm just not gonna do that, because the Abhorrent Oculus, well, the Abhorrent Oculus has to block. So actually, if I make it 4 this turn, I can make it 6 the next turn, because I'll have the draw off the Frog plus the draw for turn. So no, I do need to pitch the Harbinger. I can't hedge to like draw Force of Negation or anything. Okay, take 4, because this Oculus is on Blockulus duty. All right, Cling to Dust is like fine. We'll pass to you, opponent. Trigger the Oculus. This also makes lethal. We'll put a Consign to memory face down. Doesn't really matter what we put. They're getting busy. We're gonna do a little blocky. We'll probably double block actually with both, just to like stop any weird tricks they might have. Although they can't have a lot. Well, Brazen Borrower, that's a huge trick they could have. So double blocking stops that from being lethal. So we'll go to blocks, put Aki in front, put the Manifest in front. You figure it out, opponent. Damage. Okay, cool. All right, you have to stop me from killing you somehow. I'm not sure how you do that. Go to combat. Attack with everything. Do you have a subtlety? You have a subtlety. I'll try to counterspell. You've got blue. I can pay for 1 mystical dispute. All right, they concede. Great. Okay, that hand was a little bit shaky, but they didn't have the best possible of Leyline into Draco. So we got there. That puts us at 2-1 with the forbidden round 1. I advise you all to forget. Let's get into round 4. Okay, round number 4. We're on the draw this time. The luck ran out. This hand also kind of blows. We can, you know, this is content, right? What if okay, listen, this is wrong. Don't do this. I'm going to keep and go to discard on turn 1 because I have a Force of Negation to protect my Oculus. If they have a Spell Pierce, we just for sure die. But if this works, I want it recorded and immortalized on my YouTube channel. So we're going to keep. But this hand, like on the play, it's completely unkeepable. And this angle we're shooting for on the draw is narrow. Marsh Flats fetch. I mean, if it's Boros Energy, this line might be pretty good. That's an Ocelot Pride. Here we go. End step, on tap, upkeep, draw for turn. Murktide Regent, pass to you, opponent. Discard Abhorrent Oculus. You go. This is gonna be awesome. Yep, attack for 1, sure. I take 1. You make dudes. Land, shock it into play, I'm sure. Ajani. Hi, Ajani. Kitty cats. And then you get a 4th kitty cat. He's here. All right, me on tap and draw. A 3rd Unearth. Yeah, we've got a game plan. Fetch, shock, Hollowed Fountain, Watery Grave, and then make the play. Unearth, target Abhorrent Oculus. Have Force of Negation to protect it. If I ever draw another land, this Murktide will go fast because of the Oculus itself. Oculus, do your thing. We will put a Psychic Frog face down. Not bad. You know, maybe we should have been the Psychic Frog and just unearthed that next turn. Interesting. All right, they're going to combat. Now, however they attack, I think, oh, it's just for 2? We'll take 2. That's totally fine. I'm surprised they didn't want to trigger the Ocelot Pride. Passing to us, on tap, draw a Force of Negation. Great, go to combat. Attack for 5 in the air. My clock's fast, dude. You have to respect my clock. Now I'm gonna pass with Force of Negation and Spell Snare up, which is really good. All right, trigger the Oculus. This one will put an Undercity Sewers face down. That way, if we draw like a fetch land next turn, we can just jam Murktide too. Alternatively, next turn, well, they're probably gonna make us cast a spell this turn for sure, right? But we could go to discard again and reanimate another Oculus. They don't have a red permanent in play. So I can block this Ocelot Pride, I think, because Goblin Bombardment's a red permanent I would like to not see. Flipping a Johnny's not great. Can I just tank this? Maybe I can just tank this. What if I just tank this? Is that okay? No, I'm not letting this dude get away with stuff. I'm gonna see if they can blow us out, but I want to declare some blocks on Ocelot Pride and a 2/1. You flip your Johnny. Let's see what you can do with it. If I take out 2 of your creatures, Galvanic Discharge my manifest creature. What if, and hear me out, you don't do that? I'll pitch Oculus. Now what? Damage, flip a Johnny, make a dude. And now if they want to make a red permanent, they probably need to play a Bombardment, which I can Spell Snare. I think our cheesy play might just win us the game, which is awesome. Yeah, make a kitty cat, I don't care. Pass to me, great, untap. Who needs a second land drop? Not me. Go to combat. I will attack you with this. You with both? I don't know how I die. I'm gonna ignore your Johnny, dude. Nope. Attack my opponent for 7. Hiya. You like almost have to block with your Cat Warrior, right? No, you're not going to? Okay, good talk. Go to 5. That's lethal to a Johnny. And then I'll pass. All right, trigger Abhorrent Oculus. A couple lands. We'll just put one of them face down. Land, sure. 1, 2. Flage? Flagey poo. That's fine. You can take out one of my things. What do you want to hit? My untapped creature? Yeah, it's dead. Go to combat, attack me for 3, bring me to 10. Make a token to stop yourself from not quite dying, but getting very close. Maybe they could just like don't block and go to 1. All right, you've got a kitty cat. My turn. Counterspell is pretty poor. Let's go to combat. I'm gonna attack their face again. I wonder if I should attack with my manifest creature as well. I think this turn I'll just hold it back. Attack you in the face for 5 and then pass the turn. Yeah, you fetch down to 2. That's fine. Elegant Parlor. I guess a hasty Flage would be nightmarish, which like they're gonna be able to do. Or maybe not. No, they can't. They've only got 4 in the bin. All right, trigger the Oculus. Sink into Stupor face down so we can unearth the frog if we have to. They'd have to have a fetch land to do the thing here. That said, if they can't escape the Flage, we are dead. The Cat Warriors plus the Flage attacking is going to be plenty for lethal. They can just take out both of my manifest creatures like pretty easily too. Galvanic Discharge my Abhorrent Oculus. Well, if you have another Flage, I can't stop that. So I do have to Force of Negation the Galvanic Discharge, pitching Murktide Regent. 1, 2, 3. Just hard cast a Flage. Yep, you're dead. Unless you have land plus Static Prison as your last 2 cards. Yeah, you kill my manifest frog. That's fine. Dead Froggo. And they concede. 1 land drop. Missed your first land drop. Go to discard. Reanimate the Oculus, profit. Love to see it. How are we sideboarding? Okie dokie, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna cut 2 Force of Negation, historically not great against Boros Energy. I like having like 1 in my deck is just like this flex spot that can hit a random Blood Moon. It can hit a random Fable of the Mirror Breaker if they're playing that, but it's overall not super potent. I'm going to cut 1 Counterspell, especially being on the draw. It's very difficult to convert Counterspell into even mana parity. Most of the time you find yourself countering a 1-drop, which is pretty poor. Spell Pierce has very few targets, and we're on the draw, so we got a tempo disadvantage with that card. Consider as a trim, I will regularly trim 1 Consider post board, and 1 Abhorrent Oculus, just in case they try to hit my graveyard in some way. It's pretty common for them to have something, like Thraben Charm or something to hit my graveyard, which makes the Oculus a little worse. We're going to bring in 2 Nihil Spellbombs. It's all about Flage. This game, Flage is what's ultimately going to be our biggest problem. So we want to be able to attack that for the same reason we're bringing in Surgical Extraction. 1 Toxic Deluge, because they're low to the ground tiny creatures deck, and that's quite good. 1 EE. I don't want both because a lot of the time I can ignore most of their creatures and just go over the top of them. But some games I'll want to play EE on 1 or sometimes 0 to break up the strong Ocelot Pride starts. And then we're actually going to bring in our 1 Bowmaster because they have a ton of X1s. And Bowmaster can sometimes trade up in a really big way. So we're bringing these 6 in and submit. All right, this hand has the Honor Thought Scour start. No removal, which is going to be a little bit tricky early, but we have the juice to fill our graveyard for the Oculus, and we have the Surgical Extraction for their best card against us, which is Flage. So we'll keep. We can obviously get ran under in a number of ways, but we have to sometimes just like hope they have the plan that our hand is prepared for. Please be a guide and not a pride. It is. It's guide, not pride. Guide is a better card than pride, but this hand is really weak to them going super wide, super fast. So we'll take this. We take a draw step. It's another land, which isn't exactly what we want. I think we're pretty happy. I almost want to hold this Misty for a little bit. I think we're pretty happy just playing Gloomlake Verge and passing, holding up Thought Scour, representing Spell Snare. Tapped Arena of Glory, very strong start for opponent. Attack for 1, great, take 1. And then what else you got? Anything? Nothing? Okay, I'm gonna Thought Scour myself. Something cranked? Nothing super cranked. Drawing a counterspell here is kind of nice though, because our opponent's on that slow start. We'll shock in Watery Grave pretty happily. We can't get the Oculus into play just yet, but we have game actions to take up until the point we want to finally cast it. Looks like they're going to combat, attacking us for 1, which is like fine. I'll go to 16. That clock's really slow, dude. All right, they're passing. Okay, they're giving us like infinite maneuverability. We'll play Misty Rainforest. We could consider here to try to find something sweet to unearth. I guess we do that. It's not like we're doing anything else with that extra mana we have. Bloodstained Mire, not quite what we want. We will put it into the bin. We'll draw an island. Sure, that seems fine. We're not going to play around Blood Moon super hard. Having the island's nice because we can use this Misty to fetch for an Undercity Sewers, which is okay. Containment Priest is like, yeah, we're just not going to interact with that right now. Doesn't stop us from hard casting Oculus at all. They can attack us for 3. That's totally fine. Bringing in a card just to fight the Unearth seems a little bit medium. Like if that was an Ajani there, that would be so much better. Instead, we'll fetch. We'll grab a tapped Undercity Sewers. Of course, if they have a second Containment Priest, now they're on a beatdown plan and we like need to find Toxic Deluge, which isn't great. Thraben Charm me. Sure, that's fine. I wouldn't say fine, but it is what it is. Let's grab that Undercity Sewers. Now we're looking for like interaction, I think. Show me. Bloodstained Mire, not quite what we want. We'll bin that. Then we'll untap and draw. Spell Snare, not the worst. We're at the point where we're likely going to be cycling on Earth. We could even do it now, but even if we find a frog, we're unlikely to play it with all this permission up. So we're just going to ship the turn. 3 damage a turn is still a 4-turn clock, so we've got some time. We'll let them attack for 3. Hopefully they don't have like 3 bolts in their hand. That would be unfortunate. You got me. All right, they passed us. We're going to cycle this Unearth. Unearth's awesome because if you can't cast it, you can use it to draw a card. Same goes with this second Unearth. Brick by brick, we'll build our graveyard for this Oculus. All right, Sink into Stupor is actually quite good here. Another Unearth, not so much, but we'll play this Otawara and we will, we're actually pretty likely to Sink into Stupor the Containment Priest. And if they try to recast, we're just going to Spell Snare. Ooh, Shadowy Backstreet. They're Mardu? I did not know that. So it looks like we never needed to play around Blood Moon, probably. Unless our opponent's like otherworldly greedy. There is a Flage in the bin, but they can't do it yet. So we're just going to try to pay mana for our Surgical Extraction. That is a Guide of Souls. Not super interested in that right now. We'll counter. Another Guide of Souls. Also not super interested in that. We might just want to Sink into Stupor. What happens if we Sink into Stupor? We can't hardcast Surgical. Maybe we just let it resolve and then jam the Oculus because we can pay the hard mana to deal with the Flage right now. Actually, let's just deal with the Flage and see what else is in their hand. Pay a black mana because our life's looking pretty low. All right, there's another Flage in their hand, so we'll get that. They've got Discharge plus Prison, which is really good information. What did they bring in versus us? Looks like they do have 1, 2, 3 Bowmasters. They got a couple Fatal Pushes, which is really good versus the Frog specifically and the Oculus. They kept all their Ajani's. They've got Ghost Vacuums. That's about it. They got some Thought Seizes, a Surgical of their own that we need to be careful about. They don't have it yet, though. So we'll take the Flage out of their deck, the Flage out of their hand, the Flage out of their graveyard, and that'll be that. And then, yeah, you can have a second Guide of Souls. I'll go to 6. They go to combat, they attack for 3, bring us to 6. A really good top deck for us here would actually just be Toxic Deluge. Okay, I take it, go to 6. Time to cycle. I would like to draw a Counterspell. That'd be a nice way to like escape the Static Prison or the Galvanic Discharge, which would come down first. But we find a Misty, which is not mint. Hey, what's up, Toxic Deluge? How we doing? I want to cast this and pay 2 mana, or 2 life. 1, 2. Okay, great. Go away, everybody. All right, now we have 2 removal spells we have to contend with. We'll play the Misty. Our Sink into Stupor isn't going to help us very much versus their removal. But what we can do is, I think we need to actually pass the turn. They have Arena of Glory up. We are at 4 life. So we're just going to hold up our permission for now. We might even fetch for an Undercity Sewers. I did not see any bolts in their deck, so they don't have that type of reach. So let's just grab another Sewers, because there's no more Flages as well. Sewers, Murktide. Hey, what's up, buddy? You can go right on top. You're going to eat a Static Prison. We'll take our turn. Let's go ahead and go blue, cast Murktide. We'll take out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instants and sorceries from our graveyard. That way it is not dischargeable, so it'll eat the prison. Then, yeah, that's it. We'll pass. Land. Here comes the prison. We'll let the prison resolve. We're just going to let our Murktide go. Okay, you go to 4 energy. Now the only known information is Galvanic Discharge. We know there's a mystery card in their hand. We're just going to kind of let that exist for a while. We'd really like to find a frog. Fatal Push will work. We're just going to keep passing the turn. It is a little dangerous because every time we pass, they get closer to Orcish Bowmaster or Chthonian Nightmare, but we have the responses and we would like to just like watch them lose energy to the prison. They're passing, which is fine. I will draw. There's a Psychic Frog. We'll play that. This is my frog. I will pass to you. If they go to discharge it, I may, all right, there's the discharge. I might lose, I want them to pay lots of mana. I also would like to be able to cast my lots of energy. I'd also like to be able to cast my Abhorrent Oculus. We're going to lose Sink into Stupor for sure. And then I'm concerned in kind of a big way with the potential of Surgical. They only have the 1. I don't think I can afford to play around it. So we're going to discard Abhorrent Oculus. Then another trick we can do is exile the Oculus to the frog. But then we can't set up casting our Oculus, which is a little bit lame. And they'll go down to 2 energy if they want to kill my frog, down to 1 from the prison, opening me up to play Abhorrent Oculus. So yeah, as long as I can convert one of these cards, this is fine. As a matter of fact, Frog's going to go to the bin, so that'll give me the stuff I need for the frog to begin with. Obviously, their last card being Surgical would be a nightmare. We also know no information, so they're going to have 2 mystery cards. Hopefully, they're not great. Want to go down to 1 energy? What do you be tapping white for in your... Sure, yeah, pay the energy. Ocelot Pride is fine. Pass to me. I'm gonna Fatal Push your Ocelot Pride. You know what? I'm actually not. I'm just gonna untap and play this Oculus. Force of Negation's great. Aki, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What do you think about this? Oculus triggers. It's getting spooky for you, opponent. I'll face down a Psychic Frog. That's great. And you can use your last energy to protect yourself from the Murktide for 1 more turn. They concede. Great. Okay. Easy Mardu energy kill. Me and my buddy Travis, who you've seen on the channel, if you want to see some of his videos, just look for the funny looking guy in the thumbnail with the sick abs. We were talking about like, which deck has a better matchup into Frog, Mardu or Boros? And I would have to imagine Mardu has the better matchup because they have Fatal Push, which is good into Frog. So they're not relying on just like burn related removal. But it turns out that Mardu's matchup in the Frog deck is actually significantly worse, and I think it might be because of Harbinger of the Seas. I would have brought it in if I had known that they were a Mardu, but I didn't know that. So let's get into round number 5. All right, we got another game on the draw. Opener looks kind of iffy. We've got Pierce and Snare. So we're really only terrified of exactly like Ragavan or Ocelot Pride. We've got a ton of maneuverability with the Thought Scours. So maybe this hand's just like fine. Normally I wouldn't keep this kind of hand. Normally I'd ship this, but we're recording a video. I do want to see how this plays out. Obviously, if our opponent just goes like Ragavan, it's like, well, I guess we lose. But if they do anything, let's think about the matchups. Eldrazi Tron, do we have any play? Not really. Like, we hope our Thought Scour luckily mills us Oculus and we just randomly draw into a Unearth, and that's pretty good. But outside of that, the Spell Snare is pretty dead and the Pierce is just fine. If we're playing into energy, as long as they don't lead on exactly Ragavan, this hand I think is fine, because we can Spell Snare their first big threat, and then Spell Pierce will protect our future creatures from any spot removal. But we have to get lucky. At the end of the day, no matter what matchup we're playing, we have to get lucky with these Thought Scours for this hand to be good. I think we can comfortably go to 6. Although we can cast 5 out of the 6 spells in our hand, so that's worth at least thinking about. Opponent also mulliganing to 6, so it's not all bad. Of course, immediately punished for a mulligan to 6. Doesn't mean we weren't supposed to. Sometimes it just happens, but this is a 0 lands out of 7 cards, so we have to mulligan to 5. This hand is basically a worse version of our 7, but we have to keep. I still like mulliganing though. The potential hands we could have had on 6 were all like, there's a lot of configurations that are likely very good. This one is not that good. We really are just relying on our Thought Scours now. We don't even have a Spell Snare. That's a Concealed Courtyard. This is that deck. This is the black-white Taxes deck, I think is what people are calling it, even though it's not a Taxes deck. All right, we'll take a draw. Spell Snare, we found one. We'll play Watery Grave. I guess we'll shock it into play because we're definitely using our mana no matter what. So we'll save our fetch for now. All right, Aether Vial does its thing. Might be worth bringing in Engineered Explosives in this matchup. Windy, sure. I'm gonna scour myself. Ouch. Mildew. 1 Oculus, please. Psychic Frog. And we draw a Counterspell, which is not good against the turn 1 Vial. Take an untap and a draw. It's a land. We could Thought Scour trying to like get crazy lucky and hit an Unearth and an Oculus. I think that is too hopeful. We'll play an island and we'll just pass holding up Snare, Pierce, and Counterspell. We'll hold up every spell in our hand and pass. They fetch. Great. Shadowy Backstreet makes sense to me. Aether Vial goes up to 2. Don't love that for me. Little land action that'll do nothing. Sure. I'm going to, once again, Thought Scour myself. They're going to Aether Vial in response, which I don't have anything for. That's fine. Orcish Bowmasters? Sure, that's fine. You're going to deal me 2. That's totally cool. All right, Graveyard Trespasser goes to the bin. That is a Murktide Regent, so that's kind of neat. So if they don't have like a Solitude, we might be in good shape here. Take a draw. It's a Polluted Delta. Yeah, we're just going to drop a Murktide, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe we should fetch first just to leave. No, I think we can get the Psychic Frog out of our graveyard. I think that's fine. Blue, Murktide, exiling everything but the Graveyard Trespasser, which is actually a decent Unearth target, and paying 2. And then we will pass the turn. You know, I don't think this deck plays Aven Mind Sensor. I'm going to assume it doesn't and just pass. If they have Aven Mind Sensor, I guess they get me. I don't think it's worth it. All right, you can fetch. That's fine. Yep, another Shadowy Backstreet, also fine. We'd really like it if they didn't have Recruiter of the Guard. I'm sure Vial is going to go up to 3. At least I have to assume it will. That's usually what they do. They put it up at 3 and stop. Yep, that's what happens. They tap for 3 to cast Flicker Wisp. I mean, that's not great for us, but sure, you can exile my Murktide for a second. And because of Flicker Wisps and Solitude, might be a chance I want to take the Murktides out of the deck completely. Godless Shrine's fine. They can get in for 3, which is also fine. Then we're going to fetch. We're going to get an Undercity Sewers and try to set something cool up. All right, here's my Sewers. Take a look at that top card. It's a Consider. Not with a Bowmaster in play. I don't want that. All right, can I have my dude back? He back. Then me go. Untap and draw. Fatal Push. Not all bad. We'll play Polluted Delta. We don't want to attack our 3/3 Murktide into a 3/1 Flicker Wisp. We can, of course, trigger Revolt and kill it, but I think we're better off just like seeing what our opponent has access to and using our spells on their turn. All right, nothing on 3 for the Vial, which is fine. We'd really like to find an Oculus soon to regrow the Murktide. That'd be pretty good. Opponent enters combat. They put the Vial up on 4. Maybe they're trying to get it to Solitude. All right, well, I'm not interested in blocking a Flicker Wisp, so we're going to go grab yet another Undercity Sewers. Take a look at that top card. It's a Gloomlake Verge, not quite what we want. Then since we've triggered Revolt, we'll Fatal Push, Flicker Wisp. Okay, and they pass to us. Great. Untap, draw. It's another Counterspell. That's not great. Ultimately, what's probably going to wind up happening is they tick their Vial up to 5 and Solitude my Murktide through Counter Magic, which is going to be a bummer. These Counterspells are just not great into this deck. I think we do want EE. EEing on Aether Vial is going to be medium, but there's going to be like a lot of numbers for EE where if I can get a 2-for-1 out of it, that'll be ideal. They attack for 3, which is fine. And then they pass to me, take a draw step, Force of Negation. Okay, now I think because of their clock, I'm actually going to hang back with Murktide. If they Vial in a Solitude, we're likely to just concede this game. They tap for 2 and play Felia. Well, definitely not. Vial for 5, sure. Show me the Solitude, I will concede. There it is. Okay, cool. Game number 2. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Our cuts, we're gonna start with 2 Murktide Regent, plays awful into Solitude, plays awful into Flicker Wisp, plays awful into Felia. It's just not a card I want to ever have access to post board. I'm gonna cut a Consider for the same reason we usually do. 2 Counterspells, even on the play. They're going to be using Vial, and if I can't get their Vial, the Counterspells will kind of rot in my hand most of the time. I want some number for some of their select sideboard cards and stuff. I don't want to overload on the card. I'm going to cut 1 Spell Snare for the same reason. If our opponent has like an Aether Vial, they are aware of the critical mass of Spell Snares in their deck, and they can play around it in a really, really cool way. I don't want to engage with that. I'm going to bring in the most controversial card I'm going to bring in is 3 Consign to Memory. Just using that to counter the turn 1 Vial, not that reliable, not that useful. I mean, if it happens, it's great, but it's just not going to come up that often. However, Consign to Memory is also going to deal with triggers from Flicker Wisp and Felia, and most importantly, Solitude. And if being able to hit Consign to Memory is a nice little contribution to that, I think it's worth bringing in 3. Toxic Deluge, 1-sided board wipes are usually great, and Engineered Explosives, it's never going to be a wipeout like it is versus some decks, but I think even if Explosives only deals with like 2 permanents, getting a 2-for-1 in this matchup is something I'm interested in. So let's bring these in and submit. I will be on the play. This hand's pretty poor into a turn 1 Vial. However, I can Undercity Sewers to try to secure my second land drop. If I don't, I've got Thought Scour and I already have an Unearth in my hand. I think it's a little risky, but we're going to try it. All right, here's the Sewers. 1 land on top. Pretty please deck. Nice. Put on top of my library. Pass to you. Marsh Flats. No Aether Vial. Great dodge here. Untap and draw. Oh, we didn't bring out our forces for the purposes of Vial, in case anyone was wondering about that. I think I'm fine just playing a Frog here. Alternatively, I could wait a turn. I am going to wait a turn. This deck does usually play some number of Fatal Push, and I have a ton of maneuverability with the Thought Scour and the Unearth in my hand. I can just kind of like let them try to do something on their turn. And if they don't do anything, we'll Thought Scour targeting ourselves. The worst case scenario, they Bowmaster us, who cares? They put Thoughtseize into the bin, that's fine. Tap Shadowy Backstreet, not the strongest start from our opponent. We are fans of this. With 1 mana up, we're likely to do the Undercity Sewers, and with the trigger on the stack, Thought Scour trick, and it looks like they're passing, so that's exactly what we're going to do. Fetch with Misty, grab Sewers, put the trigger on the stack, cast Thought Scour, target ourselves. We've been nothing that potent, but we'll get the Undercity Sewers trigger. That's a land, we'll leave that on top. Then we will untap and draw. Gloomlake Verge, we knew that was coming, and then we'll tap that for blue, we'll tap this for black, we will play our Psychic Frog, and then we'll pass. If they Fatal Push, we'll probably just convert the Spell Snare there, or the Spell Pierce, I should say. They don't have one, that's great. They tap for a white. What does white mean? Guidasouls? Aki Pride the Aki way? Aether Vial, we can Spell Pierce that. I think we're supposed to. Stop, none of that. Pitchcast Solitude, yep, couldn't ever Spell Pierce that. Now Ephemerate, pain in the ass for sure, but not game ending yet. And they don't have it, so we're just gonna lose the frog, and that's fine. The downside here, obviously, we can't unearth our frog. And then there's a Witch-Blessed Meadow. Overlord of the Bailmark, sure. Mill 4, you can pick up your Solitude if you want. Yep, they take Solitude. Overlord does its thing. My turn. All right, there's an island. We're gonna go ahead and play that island. We're gonna Thought Scour ourselves. Come on, money. Give me good stuff. Nothing? Rats. That's not great. Okay, we'll pass. We've got a Toxic Deluge, so that's not all bad. Looks like we're just going to be chilling for a little bit here. I imagine this deck's like a poor matchup for us. Solitude, very good card against our deck. When they don't see it, it feels like it goes our way, but now they have access to 2 of them thanks to the Overlord. Overlord triggers, it loses a counter, you pass to me, that's fine. Polluted Delta, we'll take it. We'll just play it and pass. Tap for 2 for Ophelia, that's fine. Tap for black, Fatal Push, cast, no Ophelia for you. Our Overlord triggers, that's fine. Pass to me, yeah. I'm going to leave this fetch on cracked. Drawing another land here is not great. Our deck's trying to make up for its previous transgression of delivering, 3 hands in a row with no natural lands on game 5 or round 5, which is not where we want to be. Another Ophelia. This one, can you exile up to 1 other target non-land permanent? Yeah, we'll counterspell that. No, thank you. I'll take a pass on that, dude. We'll cost 3. Flicker Wisp. That's not great. However, we can Toxic Deluge this board. It'll cost us a crisp 5 life, but we can afford it right now. And we know one of the cards in their hand is Solitude. They're going to hit Shadowy Backstreet, though. They heard us say it. We shouldn't have said it out loud. Okay, sure. Overlord ticks down. You get your Surveil land back. Kind of a nice play from opponent. We're going to cycle this Unearth now. Probably fetch first. Crack the Misty, get an island, cycle the Unearth, because it's not doing anything for us at the moment. Draw Fatal Push, that's fine. Yeah, we can Fatal Push the Flicker Wisp now that we've fetched. All right, my turn. Engineered Explosives. We will hold this for a while. The max we can play it for is 2. We just don't know what we need to play it on yet. So we're just gonna pass. And we'll probably 1-for-1 this Overlord with Toxic. Tap for 2 for an Emperor of Bones. Sure, you can Emperor of Bones. What's your best thing to hit here? Looks like you want Flicker Wisp. That's fine. Okay, and the Overlord's gonna lose its last counter, so it comes into play. Our turn. There's our Abhorrent Oculus. We could, that's interesting, play it here just to 2-for-1 our opponent, force them to pitch cast a Solitude, and I actually don't hate that. So what we'll do is we'll grab a Swamp, then we will cast Toxic Deluge for life equals 5. Please lose those creatures. You may fetch. I'm not sure what you could have here. Okay, you did it. Would you like to flicker your Overlord of the Bailmark, perhaps? That's fine. Yep, you flickered Overlord of the Bailmark. That's totally fine. Oh, it flickers till end of turn, so that's actually super potent. Now we'll play the Oculus. It's gonna get answered, but we have to get the Solitude out. You know what? They're actually gonna buy back their Solitude. And I have no out to the Overlord. No, we're actually gonna concede here. We what happens is their Overlord re-enters and they pick up a let's see here. They have another one, right? Yep, another Solitude, along with the one they picked up last turn. So their hand Solitude, Mystery, Mystery. Then they get their Overlord back. Then they go Mystery, 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 Solitude, Solitude. The Abhorrent Oculus never triggers. That Overlord's going to happen every turn. And I don't have a way other, the Shoot the Sheriff is the way to get it out of play. But it's in my graveyard. So that is a pretty unfortunate loss, putting us at a 3-2. That's a bummer. But what can you do? That's still a pretty good finish. Game 5 made sense. I think that matchup is a little tough for us. Once again, I implore you to pretend you didn't see round 1. So we're 3-1. Our first round opponent never showed up, so it was a bye. This deck's great. We're going to be playing a lot more of this deck. When we record, Max is coming over tomorrow, we're going to do at least 2 paper games with this deck. Also, I'm probably going to be playing this deck regularly. You're going to notice this channel uploading a lot more content than usual because that's the plan for this year. I want to really crank out as much as I can. I really enjoy making this content. People seem to enjoy watching it. So it's a blast. Expect to see more Froculus. That's all I have for you today, though. So thank you so much for watching. As always, I'll see you next time.